Hey there everybody, welcome back to my wormery. It's feeding time again. Today I just took a few little bit of notes here just so I can kind of gather my thoughts on what I want to accomplish. I've got my two sister bins tracking day 140, which equates to 20 weeks now. Once for a period of 27 days, the bin was fed on one side and the worms were encouraged to move over to that side. And then I switched the feeding zone to the other end, and that has now been in progress for 28 days. And during those 28 days, I've also, those are the two sister bins over there with the covers on them. I've been running them that way in what I've been referring to as terrarium mode. The pumpkin bin, that's why the letter P is right there. And those 98 days are the equivalent of 14 weeks. That's the age of that bin. And the brackets are just showing that those have not been set up for horizontal migration yet. But maybe not at this feeding, but maybe at the next feeding, I will be targeting that pumpkin bin, as I refer to it, for a horizontal setup. Start, prepping the material for finalization and the worms for migration. See the two other bins we have down here. This one came shortly after that one. It's only 8 days younger, and there too, I think the game plan for all of these is just to feed lightly because I've been on a very heavy feeding schedule. I think there's just plenty of food in those bins right now. I just want to keep supplementing it to some sort of a minimal degree. Oh, and I think with the sister bins, as far as their current horizontal migration, that's now 28 days old. I'm gonna sort of pick through that a little bit and sort of pull out all the larger food chunks and then just sort of reorganize that a little bit, reorganize the food to the very edge, so that all the castings and stuff that's mixed in with that, I want to sort of just do a quick and dirty separation so that I can really move the feeding zone to the very edge of the bin again, because it's been, for weeks now, it's just been a progressively growing zone with food being added. I just wanted to sort of refocus that to be all food and all on the edge. That's kind of my game plan for today, so let's get to work on this. All right, here's the food: vegetables and banana peels, rice. So I think rice is a popular item that I didn't realize. So leftover rice from the past couple meals, as well as from some takeout we got from the Chinese restaurant the other day. Got a bunch of rice here that I'm going to include in my feeding today, as well as coffee. That's off screen. That's always part of my feedings too. So. Okay, so now this bin, like I said earlier, is one of the two sister bins. Oh, look at that, we got a little surface guy here, which is cool. Usually don't get that. I was kind of hoping to see some out on the surface here. The moisture that's obviously visible on the coffee filter, and you can even see the darkness over here over the feeding zone. This is where all the moisture is emanating from as they consume the food. Like I was saying, I wanted to kind of refocus all the food items that are out in this general area because, for the past month or so, I don't know how many feedings that is, 3 or 4 feedings at least, the food's been piling up in here and getting pushed this way every time I want to make more space. So I'm going to take all the larger items that I can pull together, and I'm going to also do that with all these little surface chunks that I can pull together here too. Just establish sort of a pile of food, which we'll reintroduce to the very end of the bin. This was that pit that we, one of the pits that we sawed in half. This is that chestnut, that hard nut, sort of a science project. See how long it takes to break down. All the fleshy stuff off this melon has been stripped clean, just the outer layer remains for them to continue on with. I think it's working well, but as you can see, there's just so much of the bin here that's populated heavily with food items that that they're not really focused. If it came time to harvest and I want, castings and I want worms, then they're still spread out quite a bit this way. I think focusing the food into one spot should help drive things towards an eventual harvesting of this bin. This is awesome. I love how they just go nuts for these these seeds, these pits or whatever it's called. This is that other half. This would be the other half of one of those that I cut in half. The mango was just frozen, so I cut through the skin of the mango, the pit, everything, hacked right through it, and you could see they really enjoy it. You see a lot of little tiny guys in here too, working it. Look at that apple. It's still almost an entire apple if you look at it. And what do we have here? Some other large chunks of food, but yeah, look at this area where the apple was, teeming with worms. Awesome. Now down here I could feel, it just feels too gooey to be anything other than just worms. Just maybe I guess some of this is that casting material here, but I think most of what I felt was just worm ball. Because in between it here and there you find a little piece of something, but for the most part it's just all worms. They are having a field day in this bin. They love it. Look at them. They all look so happy and healthy and well fed. And look at this huge pile of food that's piling up. So it makes sense that I don't need to add food today to this bin. And I think at this point this might be all the food that they get, and we're just going to keep driving towards, you know, kind of a good separation within the bin where they do all the work and, you know, start targeting a harvesting time frame. So I'm going to start excavating at the very edge so that we can rebuild the feeding zone. And I'm not going to lay down any fresh bedding or anything of that nature either. I'm just going to take what's here, and I mean, it does consist of material that is bedding too, so you know, it's not like I'm skipping the bedding. I'm just assuming that there's enough mixed in with the food that that everything should be okay. So before this starts caving in from all the squirming worms, let's start loading the material into the hole. Okay, and I think that definitely seems like it's sort of refocusing all of the food items in this bin, and at the same time separating it from a lot of the fairly done casting material. It's like a nut that hasn't really been penetrated yet, as far as I can tell, and this has also not been penetrated yet either. Some sort of a chestnut thing. Just keep it in here. We'll see if it ever starts to make some progress. All right, leveling this thing off now a bit. This looks really good. It's awesome. This stuff, this material just feels so nice. Okay, let's go grab that other bin. Okay, maybe it was the other one, but gotta be careful. Alrighty, here we go. Okay, sister bin number 2, same story. Nice moisture level. I can see it on the coffee filter. I'm gonna start sort of creating the pile of food items, beginning with the material that's still large chunks along the surface. Digging in for food, fishing out food. Let's just pull some of this back, see what we see. You can tell where I cut it now. That's where the cut was made. So it's the outer shell and the meaty part of the seed inside. It's starting to become soft. Oops, sorry buddy. What else have we here? Keeping with the idea that our expectations should be similar for the 2 bins, makes sense that we're going to be encountering an apple at some point. What is this? This is cardboard, I think, some bedding materials. These chunks of food. Some sort of a end of some plant. Not sure what that was. That was cantaloupe. Still see a little bit of the fleshy material on there. I think this is actually the fleshy material from the cantaloupe. Wow, they're really enjoying this. Yum yum. Some more stuff. Cardboard maybe. What is this? Is this that cork? Each bin has like some sort of an experimental item in it, and in this one I guess it was this funny little cork. Because cork is just wood after all, so. But it seems to be holding up pretty good. Guess I'll put it over here and we'll try to keep tracking it. Oh, here's the apple. It's not so much the apple, I would say, that's interesting. It's usually what's right beneath it as the juices are expelled from the apple. That's where they really like to be. So I'm thinking we're going to see a lot of worms down here beneath where the apple was. More bedding, cardboard type stuff. This is another cut in half mango. Here, another one, another seed that was not cut in half. It's getting infiltrated. Look at the size of these worms; they're huge. These are some well-fed worms, gotta say. Very crumbly. Try to keep it as one. Not sure what that is. I do feel something, or smell something. Not feel something. I do sense the smell of something that's a little, you know, not so earthy. Because up until now, it just smelled like dirt. I haven't smelled, nothing smells like fermenting fruit or rotting anything. Everything just smells very organic and clean. Except something in here must have started to get stinky. But now it's gone. It must have been something very small. The smell has already dissipated. Well, I think I found most of the pieces, and I'm down to little stuff like sticks and chunks about this size. So I think we're almost done here. We're not finding much of anything anymore, so it's time to open up a hole and drop in the food that we've gathered. It's so hard to build up a ledge like this because the worms are so densely populated within it, because the worms are right there and they're moving and they're just dislodging the material non-stop, so it keeps crumbling. Let's get things moving here. Let's get this nice big fat apple over there into center stage. Here's the potato. Hopefully they're going to enjoy that as well. Smell that again. I wonder if that's the potato. Getting a little bit stinky. A couple pieces of cardboard. Just a worm feast. There's that cork. Just keep the cork over here somewhere near the center, on the very edge. To me it just seems like cork is not so appealing to them, but we'll see. Alright, looking good. Let's get this thing leveled off and back on the shelf. I think now we are in the home stretch with these two sister bins. This might just be the last feeding. Let the worms finish the material through. I don't know what to expect, but we will see. So that's where we stand with these two bins for now. Let's move on. The next bin will be our pumpkin bin. Sister bins, pumpkin bins, these funny little pet names. Okay. So we haven't even had to touch our food supply, the food that we brought down with us, because the last two bins had plenty of food. While this bin was undergoing, look at that, horizontal migration, it did not get fed at all, other than the big, I mean not horizontal migration. While this bin was undergoing the time lapse with the pumpkin, it had nothing else than the pumpkin for a good 2 months. So you were with me in the video, or if you were with me in the last video, you saw that I fed this bin, but guess what? 2 days later I came back and I took a cantaloupe, cut it in half, and I added it to the bin. So I just wanted to like give these guys sort of a double feeding between the last video and this one. And they're doing a good job, it seems. They're definitely getting hungry. Here was some leftover mashed potatoes I tried throwing in as well. This is from the pumpkin still, sort of memorabilia about the pumpkin, but here I'm going to just feed a little bit, you know, because I still want to give them a chance to complete these cantaloupes, but I just want to get some other food in here, not much, just so it can start breaking down and be there as, you know, what they'll continue on with once the cantaloupe is finished. So I guess the easiest way to do that might be to, oh yeah, it is. Last time I checked, there was not much happening here yet, but things have changed. Yeah, it's getting to be a little bit of a party down here. Cool. Yeah, I figured since these cantaloupes are going to attract so much attention, it seemed like it might be a good idea just to lay some food right in here between the two. Oops. Push this up a little bit. Let's see what's happening under here too. Similar. Maybe not as busy. I'm sure it will be in due time. This might be made way more than what's necessary. Under the cantaloupe. Just take a little pinch from here, a little pinch from there. Sort of spread it around. Back where it was. Put this back where it was. And throw in some food. I was rather surprised when I started reviewing the footage from the time lapse. The footage of the time lapse shows that the worms really seem to enjoy the rice. Not like they're just coming by and nibbling on this stuff. They're sucking them down. Whole. Sucking down entire rice grains whole. At least that's what it looks like to me, but I could be wrong. Okay. Kind of get the bite-sized types foods next to each other. Perhaps a banana peel or two. Can you tell I'm being extra generous to my pumpkin bin? I just feel like I've got some catching up to do with these guys and try to nourish them as best I could and try to promote a little bit of catching up. Okay, can I cover this up a little bit? Put our little flour back. That should be it for this one. Onward. Oh, yeah, this is really going to go here as the last feeding, right? Okay. Okay. Now, if you recall, the timestamps on these bins were such that the pumpkin bin and this one were only about a week apart. You can see that this is approaching the top edge a lot more quickly than that other bin was, than the last bin was. The bin's been getting fed regularly, unlike the pumpkin bin. So here I don't feel like we need to add as much food, but we will add some food nonetheless. I think this here too, I could see an apple. This bin must have received an apple in a recent feeding as well. Here you can see some more plants trying to take root in this luscious material. Not surprising, I don't blame them. If I were a plant, I'd be trying to grow too. It's funny too, no light, no nothing, but they just seem to be thriving in this compost. Mangoes, corn cobs. Gonna find it all in this one. All kinds of foodstuffs. I do know that soon these are going to have to be getting geared up for some horizontal migration setups, but for now I'm just going to keep sticking to the feeding down the center methodology. Everything feels really good down here. Just keep piling some of these larger food pieces up here until we can reestablish the pit. Apple. Wow, what is this? They are just tearing it apart. I could barely make out what it is. I cannot tell from its smell either. I don't want to mess with it too much. Let's leave it be. It's pretty impressive though. Look at all that fibrous material. Maybe these are those, yeah, I think these must be those, yeah, cut in half mango seeds. And look at that there too. You can see the very fibrous appearance of it as it breaks down, and it's so soft too. It just tears 1, 2, 3. It's no wonder they love it. It smells good too. It's probably chock full of sugar. Awesome. Well, bon appetit, wormies. I'm glad I found something you enjoy. Yes, a very healthy and happy worm bin. Nothing wrong in this one. Nothing wrong with this bin at all. Things are absolutely perfect in this bin. Teeming with worms from every angle. Every now and then something feels like a large chunk of food, but it ends up crumbling. So let's leave it at that. Let's just build up the pit, drop in the food, let them get back to work. I didn't find any sort of test objects in this one. This one doesn't seem to have any slow composting test objects in it. I think it's fair to say that this bin has got to be the most active bin that I have right now, or at least the most heavily populated one. Very healthy, happy bin. Now, what did I do? I didn't add food, did I? Let's not deny them. The only bins that I'm going to hold off on feeding are the sister bins, really set them into sort of a final motion, and each bin will get a little bit, even if it's a little bit. A couple bananas, a couple greens, a little bit of coffee. We'll go with that. All right. This last bin, unusual bin, hopefully it's making it into the camera. Not sure if I have to lift it up. Okay, so we will just raise the camera a hair, just so we can see what's happening in this bin too. Nothing too unusual about this bin, other than it's a small bin. Shoebox. I feel certain sections of it are a bit dry off on the edges. That must mean our worms are hanging out towards the center. Let's see what else we can see. I wonder if that on its own might be reason enough to abandon this soon. And luckily down here towards the middle it's not so bad, near the chunks of food and the bedding, and where the cardboard of the bin is not exposed to the outside air on the bottom. I am taking that on advisement. Note to self on this is to start thinking of some new solution for this to get them out of the cardboard shoebox. Alright, so this is probably has a lot of moisture content, so I think I'm going to go with this material, mainly because of its high moisture content. You can see I'm generously adding a lot here. A little bit of coffee in there as well. This is a small bin, so I don't want to go too overboard. Top it off with a couple pieces of banana for good measure. I think that's it for today's feeding. I wasn't in any sort of a rush, so forgive me if I rambled on or took too long. But sometimes if you're just killing time on the computer and kind of in a worm spotting mood, a longer worm feeding video is just what the doctor ordered, right? That's it for today, everyone. Thanks again for tagging along and watching my video. If you enjoyed it, then please let me know. Let me know by giving the video a thumbs up, and I invite you to also join my channel. Become a subscriber to my channel, and you'll get updates from YouTube letting you know that I've updated my channel and added new content. So I'm going to sign off with that and wish everyone a great day. Thanks for coming, and hopefully we'll see you back here next time. Take care. Bye-bye.